सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते। Having discussed Viveka and Vairagya, now the text is discussing the third qualification of the four. It is called Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi. The question was asked, Samadhi Sadhana Sampattihi ka, what is the accomplishment of the Shama, etc.? What is that Sampatti or the wealth beginning from Shama? Answer was given on the page 7. Samo damaha uparamas tatiksha shraddha samadhanam chaiti. That the sixfold wealth is named Shama, Dama, Uparati or Uparama sometimes. Uparama or Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhanam. So now one by one now these terms are being explained. So this is the purpose of this text here, is that all the basic concepts of Vedanta are being explained here. So very short and beautiful definitions are given of different terms. That is why we suggested that it's a good idea sometimes to remember these things. What's a sixfold wealth? Because when you study other texts, suppose you study Bhashya and other things, you will find reference to this. You will find reference, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, Samadamas. Some of these terms you will come across often when you read other texts, when you read commentaries. So, if what these terms mean is clear, then study of those other texts also will become easier. And that's the whole idea of studying this text. On one hand, it gives us the overview of Vedanta. On the other hand, it also explains various terms and various prakriyas, meaning the various models and methodologies are all explained. And that is what these treatises or the prakarana granthas do. Then asked the question was, Shamah kaha? What is Shamaha? Answer was given, Mano nigraha, mastery over the mind or mastery over the ways of thinking. Understand that this is all preparation so that we can gain the knowledge and we can gain an abidance in the knowledge. For that, what we require is a mind which enjoys a serenity, enjoys a focus, enjoys objectivity. Then it becomes easier to understand the teaching of Vedanta and imbibe it, assimilate it, and gain an abidance in that knowledge. So, if this Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, the sixfold wealth we have cultivated, then we can gain an abidance in the knowledge. Then knowledge really becomes useful to us, or it becomes a blessing to us. It serves the purpose. Very often, mere understanding does not serve the purpose if it does not come to use at the right time. I know things, but if at the right time it does not occur, then that merely knowing in the intellect is not enough. I know what is right, I know what is wrong. But when it comes to a time to really act, then that knowledge, if it is not available, and if I am guided by my impulses, then that understand knowledge is of not use. Like the famous statement attributed to Duryodhana, who says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittahi. Duryodhana is said to have said that I know what dharma is, I know what righteousness is, but I cannot conduct myself, I cannot perform that. Janami adharmam nachame nivrutthe. I know what adharma is, I know what unrighteousness is, but I cannot give it up. Kenapi devena hrudisthitena yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi. There is someone abiding in my heart, and whichever way that impels me, that is how I act. So often a person finds himself or herself helpless. Helpless on account of one's own impulses. And very often, therefore, our actions are impulsive actions. They are not actions, but they are reactions. So whenever I act out of anger, or jealousy, or resentment, or hatred, or greed, then it is not an action, it is a reaction, because it is not a deliberate action. I am endowed with a free will, but the free will can be used only when I am deliberate in performing an action. Then I can make an appropriate choice and decide what to do. That's the whole idea of what we call free will or faculty of choice. But if the deliberation is not there, it is my anger that decides, my attachment that decides what I do, then my wisdom is of no use to me. Thus our wisdom, our culture, our education, all of that comes to use when we act alertly, when we act deliberately. But deliberation can be there if my mind is not controlled by various reactions or impulses. So shamaha, meaning serenity or tranquility of the mind, which means a deliberate attempt to make my mind free from the hold of these impulses of attachment and aversion, raga and dvesha. So raga and dvesha stand for all other impulses, like jealousy is also included in dvesha, resentment, anger, all of this is included in dvesha or aversion. So what is the method? As we said in the morning, in answer to Arjuna's question, Lord Krishna says, the way of mastering the mind is abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa means repeatedly doing something. For example, when we chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, doing it repeatedly is called abhyasa. So Lord Krishna says abhyasa is necessary. Inasmuch as there is a habit of doing something that is not right, we have to create a habit of doing that thing right. Thus we must reverse that flow. If the mind has developed certain tendencies, if we feel that those tendencies are hurting tendencies, then we must deliberately create tendencies that are helping or healing tendencies. If the mind has created a habit of reacting out of anger again and again, I become so sensitive, I just get upset at any time. So if I find a pattern of anger in my mind, then I must deliberately develop a pattern of tolerance. Because anger is the result of intolerance. Then I have to train my mind to cultivate tolerance, cultivate accommodation, cultivate forgiveness. This is called pratipaksha bhavana. Pratipaksha means deliberately taking the opposite standpoint. Anger arises in my mind when I look at a person from a certain standpoint. I wanted this person to do something. He did not do that. And I get upset. So I get upset because of one standpoint, because I look upon that person as the one who does not fulfill my demand, who does not do what I want, who cannot be controlled by me, who is not under my, and I get frustrated, I get angry. Then what is the opposite standpoint? So, all right, can I give that person freedom? When I want to control the person, when I make a demand upon you, essentially I want to control you and expect that you should fulfill my demand. And when you refuse to be controlled by me, then I get angry because I am frustrated. So anger is the result of my frustrated attempt to control. The opposite is to give freedom. Can I give freedom to this person? Can I accept the person even if he doesn't fulfill my demand? Can I accept the person as he or she is? Can I accommodate them? Can I be large enough to accommodate as they are? So this is deliberately taking the opposite standpoint. So shamaha, it says mastery over the ways of thinking. Which means first of all we should become aware or familiar with our ways of thinking. Anything that creates agitation in the mind, anything that disturbs my mind is something that I don't want, because I want a calm and serene and a happy mind. These disturbing tendencies make my mind unhappy. However wealthy I am, however educated I am, however accomplished I am, I cannot be happy when I am angry. I cannot be happy when I am frustrated. I cannot be happy when I am desiring. I cannot be happy when I am resentful. When I make a demand upon somebody, there is a potential that my demand may not be fulfilled, I get angry. Somebody may counter demand, I become, there is a rage of anger. And then ultimately there is frustration, there is a sense of despair, because I could not fulfill my desire, I could not do what I wanted, and there is sadness. So, whether I am happy or not is determined not by what all I have, is simply determined by what is the state of my mind. If I enjoy a serene or tranquil state of mind, then I am happy. And if my mind is agitated, disturbed, I am unhappy regardless of what I am. I can be uncomfortably miserable or I can be comfortably miserable. Meaning that comfort does not do anything to remove my misery. To remove the misery, I must deliberately undertake a program of making my mind free from these hurting or disturbing or reacting tendencies. And each one of us has our own share. There is nobody who is born who is free from these tendencies in one measure or the other, unless the person has worked, made an effort. That effort is called yoga. And so, mastering the ways of the mind, first understand the ways of the mind. What causes anger? Let's understand. What causes greed? What causes jealousy? What causes resentment? What causes hurt? What causes guilt? When any of these emotions or feelings arise, I become unhappy. So thus it will be necessary for us to understand our mind. That anger arises because, as I said, I make a demand. And when my demand is not met with, I become frustrated, I become angry. When do we become jealous? When I find someone has progress more than I have, someone got away with what I wanted but did not get. When I find somebody ahead of me, then there is jealousy. So there is a pratipaksha bhavana for each one of them. They say that when jealousy arises in the mind, because you find somebody ahead of you, then there is a burning in my own heart seeing somebody's progress. Then what is the opposite position that I take? Congratulate that person. Tell the mind, oh mind, come on, be happy. See, he has done this, he has achieved it. Congratulate him. And genuinely congratulate him. Not just make a show. To to begin with, make a show, but ultimately make it genuine. So cultivate the habit of being happy when somebody is happy. There are people who are happy when somebody is unhappy. There are people who are unhappy when somebody is happy. There are people who are happy when others are happy. This is what we want to be. I don't want to be happy because somebody is unhappy. That is tamas. I don't want to be unhappy when somebody is happy. That is rajas. I want to be happy when somebody is happy. Then that's wonderful. There's no reason why I should be unhappy because somebody is making progress. I mean, he has not taken anything away from me. He is just a more gifted person. He is okay. That is his prarabdha, this is my prarabdha. Let him enjoy his prarabdha, let me enjoy my prarabdha. So this jealousy comes from self-non-acceptance. I don't accept myself as I am. And his achievement makes me aware of my lack of achievement, and therefore I become uncomfortable. So okay, I'm all right as I am. He's all right as he is. Let us congratulate him, be happy, at the same time accept ourselves gracefully as we are. Deal with jealousy. Greed. Greed means I want more and more. And I hold on to what I have, and I don't part with what I have. What do I do about that? Charity, generosity. Be charitable, be generous, share, part with. Mind feels insecure. No, if I share, if I give, what will happen to me? Come on, try it. So we have to make deliberate effort because the mind feels the way it feels because of its own insecurities, because of its own distorted perceptions. Mind has reason to be jealous, it has reason to be angry, it has reason to be what it does. We don't fault the mind. But those reasons are only because of, as you said, a distorted perception about myself and distorted perception of the world. So every time mind comes up with any of these hurting emotions or feelings, I take that opportunity to learn something from that. Why did this happen? Why did I feel jealous? And I address that problem and resolve it by pratipaksha bhavana. Why did I become angry? I recognize what demand was involved, pratipaksha bhavana. Why did I become frustrated? Why am I sad? Understand the cause of everything. Therefore, in order to cultivate this qualification called shama, or tranquility of mind, we need to understand the ways of our mind, and Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, all of these are all discussed. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a whole chapter, 16th chapter, which is devoted to describing both the kinds of tendencies of our mind, what they call the divine wealth and the demoniac wealth. So, we should understand our own mind, and Vedanta is all explanation. So Vedanta, in fact, explains the ways of the mind very well, as we just discussed. Ragadvesha, a desire is also a disturbing thing. So when a desire arises in my mind, before fulfilling the desire, I address my mind. O mind, what do you seek to accomplish through fulfillment of this desire? Why didn't I have a motor car? I want a motor car. All right. You don't have something and you have it, want it? Okay. There are two kinds of desires. Desire for what I do not have, and desire for, there is another kind of desire. There is a desire for the glasses, for the reading glasses. This man, one Sunday morning, was happily reading his newspaper with his reading glasses. He's in Bombay, morning, having a cup of tea, enjoying it. And here comes a friend, just comes in, visits. Okay, puts his newspaper on the side, pushes his glasses away on the head, talks to the friend. A friend left after 15-20 minutes. He wanted to resume reading his newspaper. He could not read, so he started looking for his glasses. Where are my glasses? Where are the glasses? He started looking for them everywhere. He could not find them. He started screaming, "Who has seen my glasses? Who has kept my glasses?" Then his wife came from inside after 10 minutes of screaming. So, "What's your problem?" I said, glasses? Have you seen my glasses? Where are the glasses? I don't know. So she is watching this tamasha, watching the drama of this man being frustrated because he doesn't have his glasses and he can't find them. Thank God that his 10-year-old son happened to come by and say, my son, have you seen my glasses? Dad, what glasses? My reading glasses. Dad, one condition. If you let me go to the movie this evening, I'll tell you where the glasses are. Yes, tell me, where are my glasses? But Dad, the glasses are right on your head there. And I see that, that's right. So, the glasses are with me and I'm still looking for them. This happens. Not that this does not happen. So this desire for searching for glasses, what kind of a desire is it? It is desire for something that I think I do not have. So there are two kinds of desires. One is a desire for that which I do not have, and second is a desire for that which I think I do not have. There are many things that we don't have, and we need them. We need food and we need clothing, we need shelter, we need transportation, we need health insurance, automobile insurance, all kinds of things we need, telephone, internet, whatever. Cell phone. You need them. If you think you need them, okay. And I think the desire for those objects, because you need them to live your day-to-day life, are quite fair. And we have to do necessary, we have to make an effort and acquire them. But there's another desire, and that is desire for happiness. I not only want a motor car, but I want a Mercedes. That's why it's a cultivated desire. No, that is an emotional need. Having a motor car is a physical need, but a particular kind of car is an emotional need. Because I superimpose upon that car a value which is much more than what that car possesses. What is my value? That car gives me status. That car boosts my ego. That car gives me happiness. So now, when there is a desire for happiness, then we should just become alert, because that desire can never be satisfied. Nothing can give me happiness. A car is required, it's a mode of transportation. You may as well have a Mercedes car, because if you can justify it. No, Swamiji, I want a sturdy car, I want a reliable car, I want this, and then I've all worked it out. So it's expensive, but then you can go 300,000 miles on that and whatever it is. So it works out all right. So somebody bought a Lexus. I said, hey, why did you got Lexus? That's nice. He says, Swami. He felt a bit, he says, Swami, but my brother-in-law advised me to buy Lexus. Because you can have twice the mileage, This car that I have, 200,000 miles, this can go up to 400,000 miles. And it's very reliable, and so maintenance is low. Overall, it works out all right. Okay. Then, if there is a genuine justification, then do that. But if it is because it will boost my ego, it will give me some pride, so that now when I go out, my neighbors all see that he is, So that kind of a thing. No, this is something imaginary. This is a superimposition. I am simply living in my imaginary world of superimposition, a subjective world, because that poor car is what it is. It has a capacity to give me the right and everything else, but no capacity to give me happiness. As we discussed in the morning, nothing in the world has a capacity to give me happiness. There is no such object as happiness. Can you say consistently that a given thing is happiness? No. But what makes me happy can make me miserable also. Sitting on the same dining table, Swamiji, this Andhra pickle, this person is so happy, he has a whole, as much as sabji, he enjoys it. Swamiji, no, thank you, because I know what pickle can do to me. So what makes a person happy can make the other person miserable as well. There's no rule as to what will make somebody happy. There is no rule as to what will make me happy. If you can when you get time, name one object, one person, one situation that you can be sure that will make you happy. Then you have made it. There is no situation, no person, no place, no object that can give us happiness without condition of time or place. A cup of coffee is wonderful. 6:30 in the morning, not at 2:30 at night. My little child is wonderful when I'm at home, but he appears in my office is not right. I love to talk to the wife, but not when I'm in boardroom. That's okay. Later on, when I come home. Thus, everything gives me happiness conditionally. And thus this understanding that happiness has to be discovered from myself. The only source of happiness or security is myself. And if something else seems to give me happiness or security, is my my projection and not its nature. Thus, whenever my mind desires for happiness, I should become alert. Whenever it desires security, because this desire cannot be fulfilled. It is the desire of searching for my glasses, which already I have, and so also this happiness is already my nature. Is not something to be acquired, is something to be discovered, something to be made manifest. It is there, but has become unmanifest. Like sun is shining, but is not seen behind the clouds. So we don't have to produce a shining sun, we remove the clouds. And so also happiness is not something to be acquired, not something to be acquired, not something to be created also. It is already there, just make it manifest. And what inhibits this happiness? What comes in the way? All this raga and dvesha. Our mind directed extrovert because of its attachments and aversions. This extrovertedness itself is the obstacle to the happiness, enjoyment of happiness. When my mind becomes inward centered upon one's own self, when it's an abiding mind, then it's a happy mind. So if I understand what happiness is, what security is, that it is my own self, then every time my mind asks for happiness from something, I educate the mind, remind it, look, this is not right, this is wrong, this is illegitimate desire. But the mind keeps on going there again and again. So abhyasa, bring back again and again by every time address the mind. It is an education process. Not forcing the mind, but educating the mind. Because forcing the mind will work as long as I am there to force it, and then the mind will again run away. But when the mind is educated, in itself it will have a self-controlling mechanism. It will control itself. So thus this is a long, arduous process of bringing our mind to our own control or mastering the mind. Because mind has these disturbing tendencies, outgoing tendencies. We have to recognize the tendencies, we have to work with every tendency and neutralize it. By pratipaksha bhavana. Mind sees the advantages are not there, let us make the mind see the absence of them. So, thus constantly working with our mind and making it free from raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. That's the process of what we call shama, or gaining tranquility of mind. Now, this is what we need in our day-to-day life, not only for studying a Vedanta, but just in order to be happy. Who is a happy person? One who enjoys this serenity or tranquility of mind. That's all. There is no other criterion for a happy person. For happiness, that's all you need. A mind that enjoys serenity or tranquility. As we always say, for being wealthy, you require wealth. For being powerful, you require power. For being famous, you require fame. For being happy, what do you require? Just yourself. This mind is all you need. And what do you need for being unhappy? Again, a mind which is opposite to that. An agitated mind is an unhappy mind. A serene mind is a happy mind. Simple as that. Thus, the art of being happy is to make our mind serene in the manner in which we describe Abhyasa and Vairagya. Keep on repeating the Vairagya. Let the Vairagya, the understanding brought to our mind again and again when the mind runs out. Bring it back to its focus, and thus in course of time we enjoy a serenity or tranquility of mind. This is called Shamaha. Next one, Shamaha Damaha. Then on the page 8, next question is asked. Damah kaha chakshuradi bahyendriya nigraha. Damah kaha. What is dama? Dama means restraint. So actually dama means restraining. That's what the word dama means. So here it explains what is damaha. Chakshuradi bahyendriya nigraha. So we have these two karanas or two instruments of knowledge and action. One are what we call the external organs. Two kinds of organs we have, external organs and inner organ. So these 5 organs of perception are the external organs. 5 organs of action are the external organs. They are called bahyendriya, meaning external organs. And our mind is the internal organ. It's called antahkaranam. Antarendriya or antahkaranam. Karanam also means an organ. So mind is the inner organ, the sense organs are the external organs. We always require mind for any sense organs to perform its function. For example, to listen to these words. It is not enough that the words are uttered. It is not enough that they even fall on the ear. It is required that the mind should be behind the ears. Otherwise, people sit sometimes here and they are elsewhere. They are not here. The mind sometimes just gets transported. Sometimes we hear a word and then something is triggered and the mind goes away. You know, what did Swami say? All of a sudden you find everybody laughing and you say, what did he say? The mind. So when the mind is not behind sense organ, then the sense organ cannot function. We have external organ and inner organ. So Shama is bringing the mastery of the inner organ. Dama is mastery of the external organ. So we need to master our organs of perception. The organ of hearing, organ of touch, organ of sight, organ of taste, organ of smell. So what is the control of that? What is meant by control is that they do what I want them to do. Because in all these sense organs there are urges. In the ears there is an urge to listen to pleasant sound, in the skin or organ of touch there is an urge to have pleasant touch, pleasant forms, pleasant taste, pleasant smell. So there are urges to enjoy these things. So these urges for sense pleasure are there in the organs of perception. In the hands also there is an urge to keep doing something. In the organ of speech also sometimes we keep talking. Sometimes I can't restrain talking. I have to talk. Sometimes I can't keep my hand quiet and it keeps doing something. Sometimes the leg also. So we find that there can be restlessness at these external organs of perception, organs of action. It is in mind really, it's not in the organs. The organs are always ultimately controlled by the mind. So that restlessness is in the mind. And there are those impulses which express themselves at the sense levels. Like eating food, there's an impulse. I had enough my regular quota. But today something special, Swami, ice cream. Somebody's birthday, how about a cake, how about this? Then an urge arises from me, even though my stomach is full. And I know that I should not eat that thing because it doesn't suit me. It may need some more medication, and so I should avoid it. But still, an urge to eat something which is delicious, touch something which is pleasing. see something that is pleasing. And sometimes the urges are all right, fair. Every urge need not be wrong, and therefore it may be okay. But sometimes the urge is that which is hurting. Either it may hurt my health or it may hurt my mind. It might, the wrong contact of the sense organs with the sense objects can create this, bring the stimuli which can disturb my mind. And therefore, a control over the activities of organs of perception and organs of action. There are those urges which are built in there, and recognizing them and controlling them. Sometimes mind says, I don't want to study, I just want to watch TV, that's it. Sometimes it says, I just want coffee, I want to go for a, I want to do japa, and mind says, I want a cup of coffee. I want to do puja, the mind says, I want to go for a walk. I want to study Tattvabodha, it says, no, I want to watch TV. So what do we do? What is meant by Dhamma is nigraha, a restraint. That no, you are not going to do that. And therefore restraining the urges of the mind so that we can focus our mind on what we want to do. All these urges are distractions to what I want to do. Now there is a value for studying Bhagavad Gita. There is a value for coming to the camp, coming to the classes, let us say. But my mind may have a different agenda. It says, no, you want to go there, but I want to go to beach. Then what do we do? If I am convinced that what I am doing is, what I want to do is right, then it is necessary to restrain that no, you are not going to do this. Legs, you will not go to movie, you will go to the Gurukulam. Eyes, you will not go there, you will go here. Ears, you are not going to listen to that, you are going to listen to this. My palate, you are not going to eat that, you are going to eat this or this much. Thus, alertness at every level of activity. Not, by restraining we do not mean that we have to exercise force or we do not suppression. Dhamma should not be suppression, but it must be discipline or restraint that arises from viveka or discrimination. So therefore, the restraint or the discipline which is the result of my understanding is the right thing to do. The restraint which comes as the result of my understanding is all discipline. The restraint that comes without understanding is suppression. And therefore, if you will perhaps hear from other people, from psychologists, that you should never restrain your mind. If your mind wants to, do it. There's a desire, fulfill it. Anger, express it. Want to say something? Say it. If you retain it in your mind, within you, then it will create all distortion. Therefore, express your feelings. But Vedanta doesn't say that. It is not right to express any feelings that come. If they are legitimate feelings, fine. Otherwise, not right that we express every feeling that we have. Every expression should go through the scrutiny of the intellect. Is it right? Is it in keeping with my values? Now value, viveka, vairagya, they are my values. So now what my mind wants to do, is it in keeping with that value? No. Then I restrain it. So the thought occurs in my mind of saying something. Then I say, is it right thing to say? Is it going to hurt somebody? Is it right? Or is it truthful? Is it not truthful? Is it hurting? Is it necessary? So Lord Krishna says in Gita, for example, restraint of speech, that when you say something, make sure that it is truthful, and it is pleasant, and it is necessary, and it is useful. So these criteria are given to us. So before I open my mouth, I ask this question, is it truthful? Is it pleasant? Is it necessary? Is it useful? No? Then don't say. I mean, if that's your value, suppose you have a value of saying that, if you have value for austerity of speech, and suppose you want to follow what Bhagavad Gita teaches in terms of austerity of speech. As we said, Bhagavad Gita says that speak only when it is truthful, speak that which is pleasant, and that which is useful and necessary. If there is a value for this, then I ask my mind before it speaks, wait, is it useful? Is it necessary? Is it truthful? Is it pleasant? Will it hurt somebody? If no, then I don't speak. Yes? Okay. While eating food, I eat the food and do not allow food to eat me. Meaning that I decide what I'm going to eat, not that my palate decides what I'm going to eat. Palate wants to eat and the stomach, poor thing, has to ultimately deal with everything, And as Swamiji says, then this body is dumb, and so it seems to save things for the future, and therefore we have lots of bulges, that come up. So value for health. If there is value for health, then I will eat only that which is hitam, mitam, medyam. For the food, for example, they say, hitam, eat that which is suitable to your health. Mitam, eat in measured quantity. Medyam, eat that which is pure and which is fit to be offered to the devatas, offered to the Lord. If there is a value for this, then if my mind wants to transgress that value, I don't allow it. So we should have a set of values and acting in keeping with the values. Whenever I find there is an impulse to transgress the value, I put a stop there. That would be called discipline. That is not suppression, but that is discipline. If it is done out of helplessness, it is suppression. Sometimes there is helplessness. I want to eat, but they don't serve me. That's all. Swamiji is no good for you. They don't even bring. Sometimes they are so nice and so kind, It's not good for Swamiji. So several things are cooked in the kitchen. It's not brought here. I thought Swamiji would not like it. I thought that it's not, you would not eat it. You never asked me, but I see it in somebody else's plate and I find, hey, what is that thing? So my mouth is watering when I see that. So, but I can't say that I want it, being a Swami. So then I restrain, even though my mind wants to say that, but that is out of helplessness. No, that is called suppression. That is not discipline. If you bring it to me and then I go through that process in my mind, I decide this is not right, and then if I say no, that is discipline. But after helplessness, if I say no, that is called suppression. So not helplessness, but a will, a willing, an effort out of will, which will is based on viveka or discrimination, understanding. If it is backed by understanding, it is called discipline, and it is conducive to giving me an inner strength and self-control. Then out of helplessness, it is suppression, and then it hurts me. So damaha means discipline or self-control at the level of action. So shama is the control at the level of thought. But the thought is not in my control. In spite of reasoning with my mind, sometimes mind does not cooperate. I want it. Like with our children sometimes, they just want things. It's not good for you. We listen to lecture, for 5 minutes, what is the disadvantage of eating candies or whatever it wants to do. But then after it comes, but mom, can I have it? Again give another talk. Reason, that's what they said us, that you should always reason with children. You keep reasoning, it just does not work. He wants it, or wants to do it, doesn't want to do it. Then if you think it is important, then you have to put your foot down that this has to be done or this cannot be done, provided you are very sure about it. Similarly, if I am sure, sometimes in spite of reasoning, my mind does not cooperate. Hey, look, this is no good, this is diabetes, this is not right, I want it. This is all cholesterol, nothing but, all this paneer and things like that, nothing but embodiment of cholesterol. You can't eat it, It's no good for you. I want it. So sometimes Shama is not possible, meaning that I cannot bring tranquility in my mind because mind sometimes does not yield to reason. Then comes next step, Damaha. Let it think whatever let it want whatever. I will not allow its want to be fulfilled because I will restrain my sense organs so that that thought or desire will not be translated as an action. So at least further damage will be stopped. I feel like saying something, but I tell myself, no, stop it. You are a Swami, you can't say that. Okay. That's it. So at least further damage is stopped. So that is called damaha. The mind is not under control. But I do not allow that mind to express itself as an action and cause damage. And that restraint, which is out of understanding, which is because I have a value, that restraint is called damaha. It is called discipline. And in course of time, then my mind will become agreeable to me. So shamaha and damaha. The mastery at the level of mind and mastery at the level of actions, of organs of perception, organs of action. Swami calls him an organized person. A person is organized. Organized with reference to ways of thinking. Organized with reference to his movements. To such an extent that not a single movement is useless. Ultimately, a person can have control over every movement. Like in dance, every movement is under control. So where your hand goes, that is where your sight goes. That is where your mind goes. Everything is in coordination. And with shamaha and damaha, we gain a coordination or harmony between our thought and our action. Our understanding, that is viveka and vairagya, shama at the level of thought, damaha at the level of action. So understanding, the thought and the action, all of these are in alignment, they are in sync, they are in alignment or harmony. This is the shama and damaha. These two most important qualifications. The next one is called uparamaha. Now, the question is asked there. Uparamah kaha swadharmanushthanameva. So third is uparama. What is uparama? Answer is given. Swadharma anushtanam. Observance of one's own duties only. It is only observance of one's own duties. It's called uparama. It's an interesting definition. Uparama is explained differently in different texts. So this text chooses to give this definition. Uparama swadharma anushthana. Really, uparama means cessation. So, upa means in proximity. Ramana means playing, when my mind plays in proximity. When there is a cessation, when there is so I desist from something, that is called uparama. Uparama means desisting from something. Here it is explained as observing one's own duty or dharma. That also requires a desisting from something. Desisting from the tendencies where I want to transgress dharma sometimes. There will be a tendency in me to perhaps transgress my honesty, truthfulness, violence. These tendencies are there. So those tendencies must be kept under check in order for me to do what is right. So here, uparama, this term is explained as doing that which is right. What is dharma? Or what is duty? Doing that which is right. In every situation, we are expected to respond to a situation a certain way and responding in a manner which is appropriate, which is right, which is in keeping with our role, in keeping with our dignity, keeping with our objectives. So my response to a situation is in keeping with the objective that I have or the goal that I have, in keeping with the values that I have, in keeping with the dignity that I have. So when an action is performed that way, it is called duty or dharma, and thus living a way of life in this manner is called uparama, which is a life of constant growth. Because in doing what is right, I must check my impulse of taking or doing what is convenient. Because sometimes what is convenient is not right. And the mind may have a tendency to do what is convenient because to avoid pain, to avoid unpleasantness. to avoid painful consequences. Very often, I do what is convenient and compromise or sacrifice what is right. Uparama would mean to do that which is right, which requires me to keep under check or desist from what is wrong or what is not proper. That's how Uparama is explained here. Elsewhere, this term Uparama is explained as Sarva Karma Sannyas, is explained as sannyas or renunciation. That is another explanation of that word Uparama. Renunciation of all actions. Having attained Shama and Dhamma, now my mind has attained the tranquility, attained a harmony, and now it is in a position to go to a teacher and study the scriptures. Then one can renounce all one's duties, take sannyasa, vividisha sannyasa, take to life of renunciation, go to the teacher. In that case, Uparama is explained as renunciation of all the duties. But basically, Uparama means when my mind gains an abidance in itself. So Shama and Dhamma, both of these are to be practiced deliberately. By practicing Shama and Dhamma for a length of time, a time comes when my mind becomes abiding. Meaning that no effort is needed for me to now control my mind or control my actions because they have become completely in tune with me or tuned with my understanding. So we may say Uparama is a frame of mind where my mind is totally tranquil or abiding. Even in presence of sense objects, etc., there is no temptation at all. In presence of things that may generally tempt me, the mind is not tempted because it has gained an abidance. It has discovered a tremendous satisfaction with itself. So one thing we should understand, that this process of cultivating Shama and Dhamma is a very rewarding process. And the rewards are immediate rewards. To the extent that we cultivate this Shama and Dhamma, to the extent that we make our mind free from those hurting tendencies, to the extent that we desist from actions that are not proper, to that extent we gain an abidance in ourselves, to that extent we discover the inner tranquility, inner satisfaction. So understand that this process of Shamadama is a rewarding process, inasmuch as it enables me to discover that poise, tranquility, happiness, cheerfulness, satisfaction from within me. And thus, this becomes a process of discovering inner satisfaction progressively. Therefore, there is a reward. Otherwise, someday I'll get moksha. Right now I keep on, So, it is not that I undertake so much of effort and pain, and someday the reward will be. Reward is right away. To the extent that my mind has become tranquil, to that extent there is happiness within. To the extent that I exercise self-control, to that extent there is willpower and inner strength. And thus the rewards are immediate. Ultimately it culminates into a mind which remains abiding in itself because it is happy with itself, comfortable with itself. This is when one can now take sannyasa. When can I take sannyasa? When can I become renunciate? When I am comfortable with myself. When I am free from most of my emotional needs. Even a renunciate also will have basic needs of food and so forth and so on because that is how the body is designed. A renunciate also will need food, also he will need water, he may need clothes and he may need shelter. He may need these things to sustain his body. But he is basically free from emotional needs of seeking happiness, security, comfort. He has discovered that in himself. So Lord Krishna says, Vivikta Desha Savitvam, repairing to a place of solitude. That is possible when I am comfortable with myself. As long as the raga dvesha is in my mind, so long I cannot be comfortable with myself, and that solitude becomes a miserable situation. Suppose I have taken a vow, I'm going to do 25 malas, Om Namah Shivaya. When would that be enjoyable? When my mind is tranquil, then it will be a nice process. But suppose the mind is agitated, I am finishing this, 1, 2, 3, it becomes a tremendous exercise. Becomes, and then I'm waiting for when it's going to be over. Okay, finished. 25 is done. So we can enjoy even these processes of studying, listening, even repeating the name, doing the puja, doing meditation. All of these things can be enjoyed if we enjoy a certain degree of shama and dhamma, tranquility and discipline, which culminates into uparama. When the mind by itself, without effort, it is tranquil because it is satisfied or happy with itself. So the shama, dhamma, uparama, these three qualifications are to deal with our inner disturbances of likes and dislikes, of various desires, of various impulses, how to deal with them. Now the disturbance can come from outside also. There can be external disturbance as well. And for that, this fourth value is being taught here. The next one it says, Titikshaka, Shitoshna, Sukhadukhadi, Sahishnatvam. So fourth qualification of wealth is Titiksha. What is Titiksha? Says, Shita, Ushna, Sukhadukhadi, Sahishnatvam. Endurance. Endurance of cold and heat, pleasure and pain, etc. So endurance also becomes a value. Endure it. What you cannot cure, you should endure. That's what is said there. So there are certain things we cannot cure. It's 105 degrees temperature outside. I cannot cure it. It is cold. It is hot. That's what it is. I cannot cure. Then endure. At the level of body, there is going to be heat and cold. Sometimes comfort and discomfort. Sometimes the seat may be comfortable, sometimes not comfortable, chair is comfortable, not very comfortable. It can happen. Sometimes you get this back jack, it's, I think the sponge is gone or whatever, or you're just bending too much. Okay. If you cannot cure it, endure it. So endurance is a value. Sahishnutvam, to put up with things, to endure them. Usually our tendency is whenever something is not in keeping with what I want, I always change it. It's a little too hot, switch on air conditioner. Or if no air conditioner, start fanning. Too cold, bring some blanket. Salt is not enough, put there. Lemon is not enough. Everything must be exactly according to what I want. And what it does is, I find myself changing everything because I must have things the way I want. Meaning, I remain intact and I change things around me so that they are comfortable to me. What Titiksha means is, leave them as they are and you bring about change in you. Both of that can be done. I remain intact and change everything. Many years ago, when we were studying Vedanta in Bombay, when we were brahmacharis, this one student came from United States. That time, this was in Bombay. He came about a year. He came, and he came with his wife. And this fellow was given a room, like everybody had a room. And after a few months, I visited his room. I said, hey, his room was like a little apartment. There were so many shelves, and there was a little kitchen, and there was, he says, you see, I should have everything as I want, and therefore he changed everything. The Americans, wherever they go, they create an America, wherever they go, because they just want things that way. That's what every human being wants. And therefore, before they decide whether to come to Gurukulam for a retreat or not, they will ask various questions. Now, do they have air conditioners? Do they have this? What kind of showers you have? What kind of this you have? All these people are very kind, and therefore they have made a 5-star facility so that nobody would have any discomfort. So that at least that becomes an incentive, if nothing else. Gurukulam is a good place to stay, if nothing else. But that is okay. There's nothing wrong in having comfort as such. But basically, a retaliating tendency of the mind is what we are talking about. The mind has a tendency always to retaliate. When something does not go in keeping with what it wants, it retaliates. Moment somebody tells me something which I don't approve of, I retaliate. If he tells me 2 sentences, I tell him 4. If he hurts me, I hurt him back. If it is cold, I bring down the temperature, warm it up. It's too hot, bring down the temperature. All the time, making things just always comfortable to me. And what happens? So what happens is something like what happened to me. Many of you have heard these stories, but this is what happened many years ago when I just was new in United States, and a friend of mine took me for a ride. He wanted to show me America, wanted to show me some scenic routes, wanted to show me the rivers and forests and mountains. And he had bought a new car which had this weather control. Those days air conditioning was not that common. So he told me, see, look, now you can control. He was very proud in displaying his car before me. And he says, look, if you turn this on the right, it'll become warm. You turn left, become cold. It was very nice. And so I turned it right, a little too warm. The sun came out, it became too warm. I turned left, became a little too cold because clouds came up. Again I turned right, a little too warm. And after 45 minutes of ride, my friend asked me, hey, how did you enjoy the ride? What ride? What are you talking about? Oh, did you see those mountains or forests? No, I was just turning the knob all the time. And this is what we do. All the time turning the knob. Adding one sunroom here, one something else in there. The whole life goes, Swami, there's no time. There is no time, naturally. What are you doing? Adding a sun deck. Next what is something doing in the backyard, in the front yard, in this yard, in the bedroom, in that, in furniture, in my steps. There are a lot of things to do, I know, but that is how, in turning the knob, the whole life passes. And just because my mind retaliates to anything that does not fit its specification, a very strict specification how everything should be. And when those specifications are not met with, I immediately change them. But this is the rule of life. Life consists of what we call dvandva, the pairs of opposites. Nothing is ever the same. Not only things are not the same, but they keep changing in opposite directions. Now there is cold, then there is heat. Now comfort, then discomfort. Now honor, then dishonor. That's the reality of life. Now success and failure is a reality of life. So what am I going to do? Failure means what? I just become frustrated and I pull my hair. When I'm insulted, then I'm just waiting for an opportunity to when I can take revenge. Then my mind all the time thinks, waiting for creating an opportunity when I can give it to him. So give up this tendency of retaliation, that's all. Do what you need to, but don't retaliate. Be deliberate and then do. If you think that you need to change something, do that. We are not saying that don't add salt anywhere, but the thing is, is it a retaliation or is it something that is required? Can I do without it? First question is, can I do without that change? If you can, then do it. And also, develop as much resilience as possible so that we can do with more and more things as they are. Not that we become insensitive. Sensitive we are, and more sensitive we become, more disturbed we are likely to be, because everything will hurt us, everything will disturb us. But it is good to be sensitive. At the same time, it is necessary to be enduring. Otherwise, a sensitive person always is a very unhappy person. He is never satisfied with anything because he is too sensitive. He knows things very well, and that way he never thinks everything. Nobody speaks right, Swami. Nobody writes properly. Nobody speaks properly. Nobody does properly. Nobody chants properly. Maybe. But every little thing is going to disturb my mind. I'm going to react to everything. It becomes my big problem. Sahanam sarvadukhanam apratikara purvakam. Titiksha is defined in Vivekachudamani is enduring all the pain. So enduring all the pain without retaliation. Chinta vilaparahitam. Without chinta or anxiety as to what will happen next. Whatever happens, let it happen. Vilaparahitam. Without lamenting, oh, I had to go through this and I had to put up with this. No lamenting. Sa titiksha nigadyate. This is called titiksha. Sahanam sarvadukhanam. Putting up with or enduring all the pain. By all the pain, I would say that whatever pain we can endure. And we should make an effort also to increase or improve our endurance. It is not that I deliberately go and sit in 105 degrees sun. That's not the point. Somebody, brahmachari says, oh, no, I'm not going to do anything with mosquitoes. He said right there. What are mosquitoes? They keep on biting him and biting him. Endurance. That's up to them, but whether you want to do something like that. In fact, there are some kind of penances where people do that. It's called Panchagni Vidya. Five fires are there. So this yogi is sitting here. Already earth is hot. And on his sides he has fire. And the heat is of sun also. From all the 5 directions, heat is coming. And he sits there enduring that. This is Panchagni. Thus people deliberately do practices by which they can increase their endurance. So observing fast, for example, is also practicing endurance, so that I can endure my hunger. Every time I get hungry, immediately I must need food. I can't do without. There are some people, they must have it 11:30, 11:45 makes it restless. No, I must have, my dinner must be at this time. I must go to sleep at this time. Everything is so precise. It's good if you can do that. But sometimes it's not possible. Then if you just become disabled, just because I did not get something then I become disabled. That also it's not right to be so sensitive, so that one gets disabled. Thus titiksha means endurance. So endurance also becomes a value. Inasmuch as the world is made up of the pairs of opposites. It is not that there will be success all the time. There is likely that the failure also can be there. It is not that there will be honor all the time. It is likely that dishonor also can be there. It is not that there will be comfort all the time. Discomfort can also be there. And recognizing this reality of life and trying to develop a synchronism with that reality so that the reactions in my mind are minimum, this is called titiksha. This endurance without complaint and without blaming. Otherwise, sometimes I endure all right, but then inside I sometimes somebody tells me, and I endure it because I can't retaliate. But within my mind, I'm suffering. That is not endurance, that's not titiksha. There is no hangover, no leftover things in my mind, no leftover feelings, no hurt. So, enduring without a feeling of hurt. Enduring without complaint, without blaming, without complaint, without being hurt. And so, enduring things with a cheerful mind, ideally, maintaining the tranquility of the mind under various pleasant and unpleasant situations. So this is very important because we are living in the world and the world is not always favorable to us. World is what it is. World has its own rhythm, has its own agenda, which often does not match with our rhythm or our agenda. And if the need is that there must always be sync, then I will keep on reacting. And so, the ability to put up with the things, endure with the things, without feeling helpless, without lamenting, without complaining, without blaming, without hurt, with a mind that enjoys that serenity of tranquility, that is called titiksha. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari